Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Prophet Muhammad at the age of around 53 married Lady Aisha when she was 9. Nowadays 53 years old man marry a 9 years old girl, absolutely it is not accepted. But how was it by that time? How did their people accept it? Why only the late orientalists call him a child molester, Allah forbid? And why this accusation not raised at the Prophet time? In the coming few minutes we will discuss and clarify the fact. Let's go back to the marriage time and have a look about their customs and norms. Prophet Muhammad engaged to Lady Aisha at the age of 6 and consummated the marriage at the age of 9. He waited 3 years until she reached the puberty to consummate the marriage. If there is a molestation, he couldn't wait for 3 years to consummate the marriage. Lady Aisha was engaged to Jubair ibn Mut'am ibn Adi before the engagement to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Yes, she was engaged before the age of 6. Her father Abu Bakr was a great man and he was very rich. Couldn't he find a younger man to marry his daughter? Couldn't he apologize to Prophet Muhammad as she was already engaged by that time? Prophet Muhammad married Lady Safiya bint Huyay ibn Akhtab, daughter of the biggest names in the Jewish tribes. He married her at the age of 17. He was her fourth husband. What was her age at the first marriage? So even the Jewish used to marry their daughters at early ages. Prophet Muhammad had only one wife, Lady Khadija. Throughout 3 decades, she was a widow. They got married when he was about 25 years old and she was about 40. The bad accusation that was only raised by some late orientalists regarding the young age of Lady Aisha at the time of her marriage to Prophet Muhammad was not raised by the enemies of Islam like hypocrites, pagan, or Jewish. Although they tried to tarnish his image by a lot of lies like calling him magician, crazy, soothsayer, but they didn't call him a child molester. Prophet Muhammad, since he was young, he was well known among his people as the highest moral characteristics with a perfection of his manners. Now we have to ask about the relation between Prophet Muhammad and Lady Aisha. The books which told us about the marriage age also told us about the perfect love story between Prophet Muhammad and Lady Aisha. Let's have a look about their personal relation. They would sit and eat together and Lady Aisha would take a sip and then the Prophet would do so from the same spot her lips touched. She would have some meat or chicken and then he would eat from the same spot she ate from. When she had a headache, he, peace be upon him, says, "It's me, you can sense your headache in my head." There is a lot of a hadith telling that Lady Aisha is the most beloved to him. She used the poetry to describe her beloved husband. The Prophet, peace be upon him, got up, walked to Aisha, kissed her between her eyes, and told her, "Wallahi ya Aisha, I swear you are like that to me and more." Do you still think it was a molestation? The time they let their daughters marry at young ages, the time they'd have great young leaders as well. Muhammad al-Qasim, appointed as a commander of all the important invasion on Sind when he was only 17 years old. Osama ibn Zayd, Prophet Muhammad appointed him as a commander to fight the Roman when he was only 18 years old. Muhammad al-Fatih, he conquered Constantinople, modern-day Istanbul, and brought an end to the Byzantine Empire when he was only 21 years old. Let's do some comparisons with the situation in Europe. Theodora Comnene, born in 1145, she would be chosen as King Baldwin III's wife. She was at that time only 12 or 13 years old. Alexis II, the Comnenus, married to Aegeus when she was only 9 years old and it was normal and natural official marriage back at that time. She was a daughter of Louis VII of France. Augustine of Hippo, 350 AD, married to a young girl who was 10 years old, and he waited for another 2 years to consummate the marriage. King Richard II, 1400 AD, married to a young girl who was 6 years old. Professor of History Margaret Wade Labridge explained, "It needs to be remembered that many medieval widows were not all. Important heiresses were often married between the age of 5 and 10, and might find themselves widowed while still in their teens." In medieval and early modern European society, the age of marriage remained low, with documented cases of brides as young as 7 years, although marriages were typically not consummated until the girl reached the puberty. Shakespeare's Juliet was just 13, and there is no hint in the play that this was considered to be exceptional. We have here some analysis about the age limit and age of consent laws in selected countries. In 1880, it was around 10 years in countries like New Hampshire, North Carolina, and Texas. And after only 40 years, it became around 16. Today, getting married in France, minimum age of 18 years old for a man and 15 years old for a woman. The future husband and wife must give their consent. Minors under 18 years of age must produce a written consent of both parents or their legal guardians. According to the conversation, in most states you must be at least 18 years old to marry. However, state laws make exceptions if minors have parental consent, the approval of a judge, or are recognized as adults. How long does it take to change a custom? For example, same-sex marriage. Starting 1994, states start banning same-sex marriage by law, and it took less than 15 years to change that custom from banning the same-sex marriage to allow the same-sex marriage all over the states. If we go back in time to year 1993 and ask the people of that time about their opinion about same-sex marriage to be allowed with the power of law, what they should answer? Or can we blame the gays of that time? Why you did not marry your partner? Again, it's all about custom and norms across the time and place. It is not logical to compare the modern American or Western girl in the 21st century with an Eastern European girl before 1400 years. This is totally illogical because it is misleading and causing misjudgment. If you want to judge people, judge them according to their time, custom, and norms. Thanks for watching. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.